Welcome back to another Google Hangout here on my channel, Perio333. My name is Perio, and of course, this is my channel. I'm calling this one We Are Runners. We are wired differently. This is a hangout video, whatever, on how just kind of getting inside the mind of a runner on behalf of other runners. And it takes me back to when my personal journey began as a runner, and it all ties in even to my personal motto, my personal tagline: restore, reinvent, and reintroduce. Restore order in your life, reinvent yourself, and reintroduce yourself to the world. And I say that because initially, of course, I wasn't a runner. I mean, I had never, I didn't run in high school. I mean, I ran track, but not distance, endurance running, long distance running. I mean, 5K, 10K in high school, 5K, 10K, that's a long way in high school. You think about somebody who was running 6 miles in high school, and that was like a lot for me anyway. So my history with running doesn't go back that far. It goes back to 2012, 2013, when I challenged myself to walk 1 mile every day for 90 days, which turned into walking a little bit and running a little bit, a mile, mile and a half, which turned into running 3 miles without walking. And at that point, I mean, I can't say that the switch clicked on at that point, because maybe the switch clicked on day one, when I even took the action of walking, and maybe that triggered something that would later on become what it is now. Maybe it did. Maybe that was the thing maybe that was the dot that started the line. I'm not sure, but there was a rewiring in my. There was a rewiring that happened. There was a rewiring, and I say that it complements my personal model, restore, because this was somewhat of a rewiring, something that put me in the mind state of put my mentality on the level of other runners. And I'll give you an example. Before I did any races, I was running 3 years just on my own. I hadn't done any races. I just loved to run. I loved to run. And I remember the night that this rewiring, I remember when it happened. And I had gotten into an argument with a female that I was seeing at the time. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. She was at my place. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was tight. I was tight. It was just like any other argument you get into with your female friend, or with your girlfriend, or with your spouse, or whatever. I was tight, and instead of participating in the argument any further, I put my shoes on and I went for a run. I had never, ever did anything like that ever before in my life. And that's when it began. That's when the rewiring happened. That's when it started. Because that became the answer for multiple issues and situations that would arise throughout the day, between the time I started and now. It would be to go for a run. Now, it don't matter why. It doesn't matter why. Why someone. It doesn't matter why you go for a run. The runs are challenging. They're difficult. You know, they're difficult. It would be much easier to stay and argue. You know, it will be less physically taxing to stay and argue. Mentally taxing, maybe not, because the running definitely is like a meditative action. I mean, it does so much good for the mind when you're out running. It's really unbelievable. It's incredible. The headspace and the way that you clear your head while you're out running it's incredible. But you know, physically, you got you got to lace up, and you got to go out there and you got to go through that beautiful struggle. You know, that beautiful struggle, and that was the dot that started the line on the rewiring. You know, I would go out, and it didn't matter if it was cold outside. It didn't matter if it was hot outside. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's where the rewiring comes in again, because in general, if you're typically, if it's too hot out or if it's too cold out, then most of the time, this is before I became a runner, I would dictate my moves on the climate. Of course, I mean that makes sense. If it's too cold or too hot, I'm good. I'm staying in. There's no reason to be out there. But as a runner, you don't care about that. You don't care about it. It's not even something that you keep in consideration. It's not even something that you consider. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's that rewiring. It's that being wired differently than those that don't run. It's like a separate culture, even like a separate culture from everybody else. You know, it's a separate culture from everybody else, and it's like if you speak to the average person about running 3 miles, if you speak to the average person about running 3 miles, now let alone working up to that point to where you would where that could actually happen, you know, it's like the normal response is you're nuts, something to that effect. So as I began to run, and I go up to 5 miles, and I go up to 8 miles, and I go up to 10 miles, and I mean, my mileage is climbing, and again, I'm doing this solo, all by myself. I'm doing this all by myself. I'm not. This is all me, and the rewiring is going on at this time. You know, it's like you begin to lust for that heavy breathing, that panting, and hearing your own footsteps pound the pavement, and you know, like in a certain cadence where it's like, and then your breath is in coordination with your steps, and it's like bliss. But at the same time, you do get tired. You know, you are tired, and you're wanting more. Like you're wanting more. You're tired, but you've been rewired to like overlook it. You're not even paying attention to that anymore. You know, you're not even paying attention to that anymore. Last week I ran 5 miles, so I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna do anything less than 5 miles anymore. And it's not. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but I'm pushing myself, and again, I'm going through this beautiful struggle that's taking me to other places mentally. Mentally, I'm going somewhere else. You know, it's such a beautiful struggle. Like I'm digging deep within myself, and I'm finding more out about myself. I'm finding more out about what I am capable of and what I can actually do. And it transfers into real life. So now you get to a point as a runner, you get to a point to where you really feel like you could do anything. That's how serious it affects you mentally. Nothing scares you anymore. You'll take on any challenge. So going from 5 miles to 8 miles to 10 miles, although it's challenging, although it's a beautiful struggle, although it's teaching you how to suffer better than anyone else, because you get 6 miles away from where you live, or from your starting point. And this is in the beginning. And you don't understand, water and hydration and maybe some of those things quite like you learn as you get more and more into your journey of running. And you need water. I mean, you're not even keeping that in mind, because you just want to tackle the distance. You want to tackle the next course. You want to tackle the group run or whatever. You want to excel, and you're not really considering things like water and maybe a little snack if you're out there running in the trails and you in the hot sun. I mean, these are things that you should consider, but in the beginning you don't consider, because you don't know. You don't know. You have to go through those things to figure those things out, and you will suffer. You will suffer as you're out and you're figuring these things out. There's a cost. And it is a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle. And you don't get to that next level without the suffering. But you love it. You love it. You grow to absolutely love it. And you look forward to the next one, and how you can tweak and how you can do this. And then you go home and you prepare, mentally. You start thinking about what you're going to need for the next long run, or even the next run could be the next day, because it gets to a point to where you're doing it. You're running so often, 5, 6, sometimes even 7 days every day in a week, and you want to go to bed early, and you're going to bed early, and you're sacrificing your social life, because you're wired differently now. You're wired differently. You're sacrificing your social life, and you're taking it down 6, 7, maybe 8 o'clock at night. You're eating heavy meals that night, because you know that it's going to help you the next day during your run, and you cannot wait to get back out there and struggle and suffer some more. Because no run is easy. No run is easy. It's basically an opportunity to suffer. I ran 8 miles today. And 8 miles today is just as tough as 8 miles 2 years ago today, on the same day. It's not easy, because you do it all the time. It's not easy, because you're constantly wanting to improve. You're constantly wanting to do more. You're constantly wanting to learn more. You're constantly wanting to dig a little bit deeper and get better. And you're going to struggle to do so. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. It's a beautiful, beautiful struggle, and you suffer better than anyone else. And that's a part of the rewiring. I remember when I went from 10 miles to 13 miles. Now this is after running for 3 years. This is after running for 3 years. I probably could have did more at that time, but again, I was just running purely for the love, just because I felt fantastic when I was running. I wasn't doing any competing, and a guy who I run with now, on the weekends, he asked me if I had ever ran in a competition of any kind. And mostly for him, it was those Spartan races. He's into those Spartan races, and I didn't even know what that was. I had no idea what he was talking about. No clue. So he ran it down to me. He talked to me about it, whatever. And I was like, nah, I never have. And I couldn't really make the time for that back then because I wasn't prepared for it. I mean, I hadn't thought about it. It really didn't mean a whole lot to me. But on my own time, I went from walking 1 mile a day to running essentially a half marathon just on my own time. And one day I showed him, because at some point after I started running, I started using apps and shit like that. So at some point I showed him, what I did, and he really like, yo, you should sign up, man. I'm going out to California. He was going to be going to California at, really soon at that point, at some point in the future from then. But I couldn't make it work. So eventually I did run my first half marathon local here in Vegas. It was a Summerlin half marathon at the time. I don't even know if they still do that anymore, but it was a Summerlin half marathon. And although I had ran my own half marathon, I had basically trained myself to run that far at that point. I was really excited, right, about doing this event. It was my first running event. I had no idea what to expect, no clue. I went by myself, showed up by myself. I paid online, whatever, showed up by myself, got a shirt. They had ran out of shirts. We ran out of my size. So I got like a double X. I got like a double X shirt. But it was all good because I didn't wear the shirt during the race. I carried it with me, just like in my hand or around my neck or whatever. I didn't wear it. And although I had ran the half marathon in training and I had did it on my own, it was very, very difficult because what I learned, and I lived up in that area before, but I never had a reason to pay attention to some of the geographical situations up there. When I say that, what I mean is Vegas is in a valley, and I live downtown. I live in the valley downtown, and if you look, it's like a bowl. It's just like a bowl. So if you're in the central downtown area, you're like in the bottom of the bowl, and then everything else kind of rises from there. It's kind of like a bowl. You look around, you see mountains and all that, and then it's like we're in the valley, so we're in the bottom of the bowl. Well, in Summerlin, it's elevated. So whoever designed that course did a fantastic job because there was all kind of hills involved. And mind you, I hadn't prepared for that. I trained in the city. So it was mostly flat, a flat surface. And I wasn't, I just didn't know what was necessary for training. I had never did the course. I had never did anything like that. So I did my normal thing. Listen, man, it was crazy hard. The 13.1 was unbelievably hard. And I made a lot of mistakes in the sense that in the beginning, I did a whole lot of extra moving around. I really wasn't focused. I was having more fun than taking it serious. And as I got toward the end, as I got toward the late, 8, 9, 10 miles, 11 miles, I mean, the closer I got to the end, the more tired I was. And I mean, I remember like it was yesterday, mile 12. And I've ran up and down hills. I mean, there was even some steps involved that was on a pretty decent incline. it was crazy. It was a lot. I had never did the hills like that. And then I thought coming off of the 12th mile, we came around a bend. We came around a bend like a winding street that curved pretty deep, kind of going to the left. And I thought that we was going to cruise in from that point, because I mean, we close to the end. I don't see a hill, but I hadn't got around this bend yet. Soon as we get around the bend, we're at the bottom of probably the steepest hill in the course. They did a really good job in designing this course to make it difficult. I mean, a half marathon, that course to be a half marathon was extremely difficult. I know that now because I've done so many of them, but I know that now, but back then I didn't know that. But this was extremely well. This course was very well did to be challenging. And when I turned that bend, when we came around that bend and I seen that hill to go over like a bridge, it was steep. It was a lot. I almost walked it. I was really tired at that point. I mean, you talk about suffering and struggling. It was just mental games for the last mile. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, why would you sign up for this shit, man? And here you go. Listen, I'm thinking about quitting. I was thinking about quitting. I was gonna quit. However, I did not. I did not quit. I did not quit. I kept running. I slowed up, but I did keep running. And as I'm going up to the top of this hill, I had remembered running past a family. It was a man and a woman, and they had a stroller, one of those strollers that, like, with the big wheels on it. You see them a lot in races where people are dedicating their run a lot of times to a child that has, maybe some mental or physical disabilities, and the run is really all, and their run is really all about that child, and that's their why, that's their cause. And I ran past them, and when I ran past them, I was thinking to myself, wow, they're doing really good. I mean, to have the stroller, and for a human person to be in there, and that's even extra work. That's extra. Now, I was also thinking to myself, there's no way they're gonna beat me. That's what I thought to myself. And I don't think that sounds messed up, because I was trying to beat them. I was trying to beat as many people as I could. And I was thinking, well, I got them. There's no way they're gonna beat me. And I ran past them when I was thinking that. I ran past them. Man, listen, on my way up that hill, they blew past me. These people blew past me and crossed the finish line before I did. Even coming off that hill, it was an incline, a decline, and then we ran into the finish line on level ground. And they crossed the finish line before I did. I kind of learned at that point, you can't underestimate anyone out there. You can't underestimate anyone out there. Women, the whole thing. I would even say women probably run the whole scene, really, to be honest with you. I mean, they separate the guys and the women in terms of winners. Like, there's a female winner, the fastest time, and there's a male winner with the fastest time. And a lot of time, I would imagine the male has the faster time. I don't know that for sure, so I'm not saying that, but I think on that particular day, the guy had a faster time than the female. I think, but that really means it means nothing. You know, you can't you will get dusted off by women, by men, by somebody that's younger than you. There was a man out there who was like 70, and he won his age group, and his time was better than my time. He was 70 years old. So it all goes back to that being wired differently, man, and going back over and over and over again for more. Now, what I know now about that man who was 70, who busted me up out there, he's been going through the beautiful struggle for years, because there's no way it's his first time, and he beat someone who was almost half his age, simply because of physical conditioning and aging and all that. It just makes sense. What I'm saying just makes sense. So it's not a slight on him, but he had been going through the beautiful struggle for years, had to have been. He suffered better than I did, which is why his time was better than mine. But anyway, that was my first 13.1. That was my first half marathon race, my first half marathon competition, my first event, my first competition that I entered as a runner. And it was tough. It was tough. I was really tired. And I had a friend come by. I did this. I didn't say anything to anybody. When I did it, I didn't say anything to anyone. And I have a friend of mine that lives here as well. We grew up together back in the East. And so I called him up. I'm like, yo, what I did, I sent him a picture. I texted him a picture of me standing on the podium with the one finger up, like, yo, I'm the best. I'm number one. And he was like, oh, get the fuck out of here. And he ended up coming to my crib, like kind of like celebrating, like, yo, when you decide to do this. And we had a conversation, we ended up talking, whatever, and he said, so I could see myself doing a half marathon, 13.1 miles. This is what he said. He said, I could see myself doing a half marathon, 13.1 miles. And I could see why people would do that. But I just don't understand why someone would want to run 26.2 miles. That's what he said. He's like, I don't understand why somebody would want to do that. And I said, you know what? I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to do that. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. But what happened when he said that, like, he put that on my brain. See, wired differently, man. Wired differently. It's another challenge. It's even more suffering. It's an even more of a beautiful struggle to scratch and claw and crawl through that 26.2. Now, at that time, I hadn't done that yet. Right? This was April. This was April. The month was April. And now I got that on my mind. I'm like, wow, that would be quite a challenge. And I was thinking to myself, could I do that? I mean, would I be able to do that? And I said, well, you did this. You did this. So in June, I signed up for my first 26.2. Wired differently, man. Wired differently. I didn't have to do that. But this is what runners do. We're wired differently. I asked for that. I didn't get paid to do that. I asked for that. So now when I get up early, because you got to get up early, wired differently. You're asking for that. You're asking to get up early. You know what I mean? Like this is something that you're taking on voluntarily. You talk to most people, that's not going to happen. If you're not a runner, you don't get it. If you're not a runner, this don't even make sense to you. But if you're a runner, you feel me. You feel me? Because if I'm training for a half marathon, I get up, I can put in 8 miles on a long run day. If I'm running for if I'm training for a full marathon, 26.2, I get up, I got to put in 16, 18, 20 miles in a day. Asking for that, man. Wired differently, bro. For real. And that's real. I signed up. I signed up for the 26.2. Had never did it before. But I felt like, I did the 13.1 and it was crazy hard. Questioning myself, what are you doing this for? But I was doing it for doing it for the fact that something was triggered in me. Soon as he said that, I hadn't even thought about that. Soon as he said that, though, he triggered something in me. He made me go there mentally, like, wait a minute, hold up. You know what? I'm gonna think about this one right here. And it took me about 24 hours to come to the conclusion that I was gonna do it. And I started looking up marathons that was gonna happen in that year. It was June, and there was a marathon that was gonna happen in November. And it was the Rock and Roll Marathon, where they run the strip at night. And I thought to myself, wow, I am in. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. It started to look so attractive to me. Wired differently, man. Wired differently. And I remember going to work. And talking to people about it. I was super excited. And what I realized was, number one, first and foremost, a lot of people didn't even know what a marathon was. I mean, they know what it is. They don't know how far it is, though. You know what I'm saying? Like I might bring it up to someone and they'd be like, so what is that? Like a 5K? Literally, that's what people would say. Like, so what do you mean? Like, are you doing a 5? Is that 5 miles or 10 miles? You know what I'm saying? Now, and look, I was that way before too. Of course, I never knew anyone that ran a marathon. I never knew anyone that ran a marathon. You know what I mean? So I had never been approached with that type of information from anyone. But had I been approached in the not so recent past, I would have said something like, well, how far is that? I wouldn't have assumed that it was a 5K, because I didn't know what a 5K was either. You know what I'm saying? I just wasn't associated with running on any level, to be honest with you. But I had did a 5K in the past, but still, I did it because a friend of mine did it and we walked it. It was no big deal. I still didn't know. I mean, I really didn't pay attention. I just did it because somebody else did it. So I go to work and I talk to people and I'm like, yo, I'm about to do this. I'm about to do this marathon. And people are like, well, what is that? And then once I explain to them, what's 26.2 mile race? It's on the strip at night, and people are like, what? Are you crazy? Like, can you do that? Is that healthy? Like, are you gonna be okay? Wired differently, man. You become a runner, and your wiring is redone. It's redid. You're not an average person anymore, and that's not the slight on anyone. And you don't have to be a runner to be. That's not a prerequisite to be a success or to be, something. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, you have to have a certain mentality to take these endurance races on just on your own. And a lot of the people that you meet, they're not professionals. Like, this is not like the NBA or whatever. This is people that work jobs, people that make the time by waking up super early and putting the training in before they even go to work. Yeah, put the training in before they go to work. Wired differently. Or when they get off. Wired differently. Moving around their day. Like I said, basically eliminating your social life. If you're training for a marathon and you have a full-time job, I was in school, you really eliminate your social life. You have to put time and effort into marathon training. You cannot just walk out there and run 26.2. You will be disappointed. You will disappoint yourself. You may even hurt yourself. You just, no one can do that. I won't say that, but it's very difficult to just wake up and say, you know what, I'm gonna go run 26.2. Usually there's some sort of strategy. People have a game plan. Some people even get coaches, stuff like that. Now, I didn't do that. Basically, what I did was run miles. You figure if you run miles, you can run miles. So if I run X amount of miles enough, then I'll be able to run that amount of miles in the race. And this is early in the game. This is taking it on because of how my brain and how my body and how my desire, my drive had been rewired. And this stuff was really, really helping me in life, and helping me and giving me confidence and being able to do some of the things that I've been able to do since then, and some of the things that that I have ambitions to do now and in the future. That rewiring, man, you're wired differently, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You see a challenge and it's like, yo, in the past, maybe you cower from certain things. Maybe you cower from certain things. And I don't know what those things are. I don't even know what they are for me. But I know that as a result of the rewiring, as a result of the discipline that I've gained from becoming a runner and doing multiple events and having more to do, and being able to take the time to get my training right, and to get my nutrition right, and to get my hydration right, and in the time that it takes, it does that to do those things. If you use those same concepts when you're doing other things, it creates success in the different areas that a person is trying to be successful in. Whether that's just doing a better job at work, whether that's being more patient with your kids, or more patient with your family, or whether that's being a better big brother or little brother or whatever, or better uncle, whatever. If you can apply that discipline into your life the way that you apply it into your training, it's priceless. It's priceless. You can't imagine the changes that it makes, because you've been rewired. And that's why it works. That's why it goes hand in hand with my restore, reinvent, reintroduce, because restoring is almost like a rewiring somewhat. I mean, you're gonna come out you're gonna do things differently. It's very, very close. And that's why, just in a natural, organic way, I developed that formula, that restore, reinvent, reintroduce. It came from my journey as a runner, and how that changed my life, and it allowed me to restore order and reinvent myself and reintroduce myself to the world. The world did not know me as someone who was an endurance athlete. So that was literally and officially a reintroduction. Absolutely. It absolutely is a reintroduction. So that's how it ties in. But just as a runner, why do it? Why do it? Why get up? Why get up early in the morning? Why get up at 3:15? Why get up at 3:15 when it's still dark outside? Why? Why run 5, 10, 15, 20 miles before the day gets started good? Why? Why? Why watch what you eat? Why watch what you're putting in your body? Why take care of yourself? Why go through so much to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're gonna be functioning properly just to go out and struggle and suffer? Why? Why do it? Why run so much till your legs feel like spaghetti? Why run so hard that you're panting, that your heart rate is crazy, and you don't even why hit the wall? Why run so many miles that you hit a wall and everything hurts? Why go through the pain? Why go through the pain? Why go through the suffering? Because you're wired differently. You're wired differently. You realize that through all of that, there's a reason that you're going through all of that. It makes you, on the other side of it, on the other side of that beautiful struggle, on the other side of being the one who suffers the best, it's not all for nil. It's not all for nil. You know, on race day, race night, in the case of the strip, which is the one that I love. I mean, I lace up, put my bib on, get to the race, get in position. I see the people. I feel the energy. I met new people. We're talking, everybody's excited. When the gun goes off, I feel like show's on, man. This is what I was born to do. Wired differently. So I just wanted to come on and do that, man. I really felt that way. I've been thinking about it and had a conversation with some guys that I run with on Sundays, and we're on the trails out in Red Rock, and these guys, I do marathons, and I'm taking part in my first Ironman competition where you swim, bike, and run as well. And these guys, do ultras where races are 50 miles, 100 miles, and then another friend of mine who does competitions where they last 24 hours. And we're talking, man, and we're just like, listen, why do we do it, man? Why do we do it? Even going to the trails for me is it's difficult because I run the streets. So it's like, why do we do it, man? We do it because we're wired differently. And we welcome the struggle. We welcome the suffering because we're wired differently. We are runners. We are wired differently. Out.